Hey, it's Francis, and welcome to another episode where I will continue working on this new Dungeon Synth project. Last time, we recorded some stuff on the Mellotron through some hardware reverbs and delays, and I really liked the way it was turning out. So today I want to spend some time getting started mixing it and seeing what kinds of problems surface as a result of mixing. That way I can make some decisions as to what needs to happen next in order to improve the song. So let's take a look at the Reaper session, and we could take a quick listen to the song, during which I will probably be setting levels. Okay, so here we are in Reaper, and I am controlling my mixer with hardware, and I wanted to show you this in case you aren't using software, because I know a lot of people like making Dungeon Synth without touching a computer. Maybe it's not obvious. I feel like it is or should be obvious. If I'm making a video about this on YouTube, I have to use a computer. Because YouTube's on the computer. So we're using a computer and we're using hardware where we can. But anyway, here we go. I'll be doing some basic level setting as we listen through the song. So let's just start out with the plucks. I like to go a little bit below 0 as a starting point. I'm going to bring this down to around 3. And these 3 all come in at about the same time. So I'm going to start them a little lower and get a feel for where they should be. Okay. I'm going to put the chimes off to one side. And I'm bringing the plucks a little bit to the other side. Okay. That sounds pretty good. We're running into a few issues relating to the punches, and I want to adjust those a little bit. Fades between each. Sounds pretty good. Okay. I want to use an insert on the percussion. I don't own a hardware compressor, but that's what I want on this. I want a slow attack compressor. And I have a few ways I could probably recreate that. But the easiest way to do that would be to just use a plugin. So the main thing that I want to do here with the compressor is to essentially slow down the attack so the transient comes through. The transient being the little spiky boy at the beginning of the sound, and squishing down the sound after that to accent the beginning of each part. So, see how we're not touching the threshold yet? Let's pull it down below the threshold, and bring the ratio up a little bit more significantly. now we're bringing the attack time up. You hear if I bring it really far down? There's a little snap. That snap is what I'm aiming for here. And I'm going to tune the snap with the compressor at an exaggerated threshold. Without. With. Okay. That sounds cool. And now I want to blend in a wet dry. Without and with. That's probably the only insert I'm going to use in this mix because I went out of my way to make sure these sounded the way I wanted beforehand. Any other processing that I do is going to probably mastering processing. And I'm noticing that I want a little bit more low end in the track, so I'm going to use a synth. I'll have to make a track for that. And I think the synth is plugged into input 7, maybe 8. Yep, there it is. And if I turn on monitoring, we should hear it. There it is. Great. Okay, and now we just have to figure out what notes we want on this. So that actually sounds pretty good right off the bat. I just want to add a little bit of low end, and this is just a filtered sawtooth. 2 sawtooths, really. A little bit more emphasis on it there. All right, so again, I am keeping track of the notes that I'm playing with markers here. So I know I'm playing a D minor, which is just going to be a D note. Then I'm B flat, D minor, B flat, C, D minor, A, B flat. And I think that I just want to repeat that throughout the whole song. Another thing that I want to do is allow my synth to sustain without holding the note down. A lot of synths have this. It's usually going to be called a decay time or a drone mode. Right there on mine. On and then off is over here. Cool. Okay. And I think that'll just come in right here with that first drum hit. Okay. Let's give it a try and record that. And I'll be ready over here on my mixer to turn down that track if I need to. It's right here. Came in really early. Give that another try. Play the last note and fade it out. And I think that sounded pretty good. I didn't have to adjust the level much at all. Cool. We're going to do that on this other section over here now. I'm going to make a marker for myself so I can see where I'm starting. This will also help cover up my mistake. And there we have it. A synth part, which is going to help with our mix. It's going to lead to a fuller occupation of the frequency spectrum, which will make essentially less work for me. I won't have to add any low end or do anything to sort of compensate for missing spaces in the spectrum. A great tool in mixing, aside from just having a mixer, is using an EQ or a analyzer on a mix bus and looking at what your frequency spectrum looks like when you're playing your whole track back. So you can see that that synth has a ton of low end, right? If I pull that out, that was the wrong track, right? You can see that synth dropping out in the bottom. And I really just want it taking up that space. We don't really need to hear it as much as we need to feel it. Without it, suddenly the track feels quite empty. With it, it's like giving you a hug almost. So it looks like we've actually got a lot of space right up here between 5K and the top of our frequency spectrum. And we could fill that in with either an EQ or another instrument. track sounds pretty good though. So I think that we might be better off just leaving it. Let's see how it feels and looks once we have our biggest part of the song over here. If anything, this will probably get filtered off for a cassette release. And I think it's likely, oh, I just realized that my voice is passing through this as well. Yeah, the cymbals take up space up there as well, so I'm not too worried about it. And if it becomes a problem in the mastering phase, we can handle it. We want to put a little fade out on that. A couple of ways of doing this. We could fade it out on the mixer, which I think I'm going to do just to show you. And we could also just put a fade in Reaper like that. So to automate a fade, depending on the system you're using, it's going to be different. But in this case, in Reaper, V shows the volume envelope. We can arm this, and we can essentially I have a lot of different automation modes over here. In this case, we're going to write automation, and you can see that this track is selected, so we can tell which fader we're on. We're on this fader right here, and what I can do here is essentially fade that out naturally. So if I just play the song back. And I've drawn in a fade. Oh, it's behind this. That's what it looks like. And nothing else happens in here, but I like to delete these extra nodes that happen just to be safe with it. And it's always good to remember to turn off the record arm on those. So we want to essentially just read the faders when we play back. So one more thing that I like to do is to automate the level of instruments that are playing in pad rolls, like strings. Percussion can also be good, but in this track, the percussion is relatively homogeneous, so I'm not too worried about it. There's no big chorus or anything to add some excitement to. So I'm going to add just to the strings a little bit of volume fader writing, and we'll see how that affects the song. So same idea, we're going to record by writing the fader volume, and let's go ahead and see what happens. Oops, that was the wrong starting point. So I'm going to start just before the strings enter. Okay, and we can see that I essentially faded in a little bit of extra volume on the repeat to add a little bit more excitement to it. And I'm fading in that first note in the beginning because I essentially am matching the performance. Same on the way out, I'm fading the volume out to accentuate what I did in the performance, where I rolled the volume up and down on the actual keyboard. So same deal, doing the same thing over here on the second string section. Rolling it back on the mistake. It's gone now, right? That's what they're saying when they say we'll fix it in the mix. Roll it out. And there we have it. We've essentially printed a volume automation line. We haven't really printed it yet, but we've got it in the song. So turn off this and set it back to read, just because we don't want to accidentally overwrite that. And at this point, if we're relatively happy with the mix, we can print the whole mix out. I'm going to make a new track and call it print. And we'll put okay. And you can see what's happening here. We're essentially printing the mix onto a new track. And let me just double check this and make sure it sounds right. Cool, perfect. Okay, and now we just wait. Immediately noticing that the percussion sounds a little bit loud. So I think what we're going to do is to allow that percussion to really shine through. What we'll do is essentially print out a mix that includes some automation in the percussion line as we're going through, just so I can hear what's happening as I go and correct for any problems that might arise. So set this to write and do the same thing again. And the starting point is going to be lower. turn the volume up just before the gong. And back down slowly. And this last gong, we're not going to do that for, because we might have to fade that out more because it's not over the full arrangement, it's over just the plex. Fading out all the way to mask the end of the transient, and then bringing it back up to roughly where it was. You can sort of do that visually here. That's probably fine. A little bit lower. This will all get deleted too. Two mixes together and do a crossfade like this. So really shape that transient there. And remember to bring it back up for this last hit, which I already recorded, but for consistency's sake, we'll just do it again. Pull that back, and no more percussion, so we're done with that fader. We have this beautiful shape for the whole song now. We have to keep this going though, because the song's not over yet. And I'll show you how we can find a stitching point here. Again, this method is very, very time consuming, and generally speaking, because I'm on a digital system, I really could just write the automation in and then print it out with a render faster than real time. But if you're using any type of hardware processing, which I'm sort of pretending to, in this case with that compressor and with the mixing board, you have to print it in real time. Also, if you're printing to tape. Nice. Okay, sounds pretty good. And what we can do now is to go back to read mode and turn the print off record arm and solo it. Because now none of this other stuff matters. We're just working with this print. And what we need to do here is find a point to stitch these two takes together. For right now, I'm going to turn the limiter off. That's actually perfect without a fade. Okay, so that mix sounds pretty good, and I can glue these together. And now we have our mix right here in the session. And on this, with this soloed, I can essentially bypass the processing on the percussion. And we'll get to mastering this track in our next video. So thank you for watching, as always. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for liking the video and sharing it with your friends. I look forward to hearing more and more of your Dungeon Synth projects. It's been so fun over the last year making this channel and hearing so many people send me projects that they've worked on and that they've gotten ideas from me or from other people in the chat on my streams. It really means a lot to me. So have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.